Hey YouTube, the Rlcs 2024 announcement was just dropped. So now we know the format of Rlcs and we're going to go through it a little bit, talk about what's good about it, what's potentially bad about it, why everybody is going crazy over it in the next few minutes. So first off, we'll start at the beginning. As we go through, we're going to talk about what could be good or what could be bad. So the prize pool is getting reduced. If we look at the previous season announcement, which I have up right here, it was a $6 million prize pool. It is down to a $4,300,000 prize pool, which if you look at the less events, it might still be about a similar prize pool per event, but we're going to go ahead and put it in the bad. Overall prize pool reduced. Too bad. Unfortunately, for the fans who love Rocket League, there's also going to be one less major. There's going to be there's going to be two majors and a world championship. So they're taking away one of those third majors. Now, to be honest, when we would get to the world championship, it felt like that first major was forever ago and it didn't seem incredibly relevant. So I think everyone kind of expected this, but it's still less lands. It's still less exciting stuff for us. So I do think it has to go into the bad category. Less majors for us to all watch, although I do think it's a little bit more coherent to watch as a regular viewer or a casual viewer, but I'm not going to go ahead and throw that in good, even though I could. So the format has changed for all of these. From now on, every format is going to be open double elimination brackets, just like it used to be that weekend before the actual regional. And then the regional will be basically a fall regional from the previous splits. It's going to be a 16-team Swiss into an 8-team single elimination. It's just like we thought, where Friday is the Swiss and then Saturday, Sunday is those elimination days, which is a pretty easy to understand, and it's across the board going to be the same. So I'll give them consistent format over here in the good. The downside that you'll notice is it doesn't talk about any pros getting any sort of bye. Everybody plays in the open qualifier. It's going to be a standardized format, and I'm assuming you're just going to get a better seed. So we're going to put Vitality versus Team of Bronzes in the bad category, because I think if we're going to have to see some pretty silly games and some chances for some ridiculous upsets, which you could say are exciting, but the reality is, from a viewer perspective and from a player perspective, you want to be guaranteed to be playing in the RLCS, and you might not be. So that is not great. But we move on to the major qualified teams. Now, this is a lot of words right here. I'm going to make it simple for you. One less NA and EU spot, and a spot goes to SSA and MENA. So as people who love MENA and love 1v1 over here on this channel, that has to be good. MENA and SSA spot, it's great to see, but unfortunately there is also a decrease in NA plus EU spots reduced. So we can't feel great about that. We'd want to have more teams. The formats don't work great if you don't have 16 teams, and it seems like instead of paying the more money to maybe get more teams there, make things a bit more confusing, they decided to stay with 16. And if there was a spot to take away, just to be clear, it was NA and EUs. So if they were going to take away 2 spots, it doesn't surprise me that they took away NA and EUs, but especially with everybody all collapsing into the NA region in the past, the SAM teams coming there, players from EU moving over to NA to play from NA. It feels like there's going to be a lots of teams in NA that people feel not so great about the fact that they don't get to go to majors and play consistently. And maybe that will be even worse for orgs who try and sponsor those teams. It's not great. It's not great. The World Championship qualified teams is the same thing. They rewrite it again. I'm not sure why, as far as I can tell. All the same. So just the same kind of crew that goes to majors will go to worlds, and there will be no wild card anymore to try and fill in some last second spots. It is exactly as a major. So it's basically like 3 majors. They took the world championship out and they made one of the majors a world championship now. Is really an easier way to think about it. So this is another one that people are talking about a lot. In addition, prizing distribution has widened significantly in all regions. So all the way down to 128 teams in NA and EU will get money, and it's a little bit less deep for the other regions. But people are talking about this a lot because really you don't need to give money to the top 128 teams. They're not exactly high-performing teams, but it seems like Rocket League wants to be dishing them out money. Everybody's joking that they're going to get like $3.50 at the 128 mark. I don't know if that's going to be true. It feels like it's going to have to be that way if they want to split out this money to so many different teams. But I'm not sure if the top players are relying on the money from these regionals anyways. They maybe just took like the last $1,000 and split it out over a bunch of people so they could get a little bit of prize. I don't know. It could not be the worst thing in the world. It depends how that split actually goes down. Now, if they took a ton of money out of the winners and spread that out over the 128, I think that's probably a mistake. I think more people towards the top need consistent money. But hey, another thing we talked about already, or people know about already, is minimum age got reduced to 13. They did warn people of that. Although coaches and managers have to be at least 18, I don't think that that's necessarily bad. I'll put 13-year-olds being able to play as good, even though I don't know if it is, but for the pure sake of of technically positive, adding things to the scene, more people can play. We're gonna say that's good. You could definitely argue that it's not good to get 13-year-olds too deep in the sauce of having to play in a video game tournament for their salary and maybe not focus on their development. But anyways, that's for a different time. That's another argument that's been made many times. We're gonna put it in good just because it's an advancement in that it makes things more available. Coaches and managers being at least 18, to me, being in like a managerial role seems like most were probably already 18 anyways. It feels weird if they had to come from a major or come to a major and also bring a guardian. I think that's part of the reason why they said 18 is I'm thinking they don't want to pay for additional guardians for like coaches and managers, but maybe that's not why. I don't know. So the new schedule is basically nonstop playing Rocket League for everybody, because now everybody has to play through the open qualifiers. It's 1 week open qualifiers, just like it used to be. Then the next week you have that Friday Swiss stage into the Saturday, Sunday playing of the single elimination bracket. Now, big things to look at here. You'll notice none of the regions are called out specifically. So it's not like NA plays one weekend, EU plays another weekend, etc. Like they did. They kind of split everybody up. Looks like everybody plays at the same time. So I guess they're going to skew the times probably to try and get NA and EU on the same broadcast. And maybe Mina, Sam, OCE, APAC, they're going to end up overlapping, which they kind of did last time anyways. But it's going to lead to really long broadcasts, I would imagine, for the official squad on those single elimination weekends. And the other thing is no breaks for players, because we talked about, as far as I can tell, the Vitality versus Team of Bronzes might have to happen every single week. They don't get to skip the elimination stage, which means they're having to play every single weekend, and there's no breaks in here. And maybe not clear just looking at it, but these are all consecutive weeks up until March 2nd and 3rd, and then eventually the major, which probably happens a few weeks after, late March. So as far as bad, no breaks, consistent Teams of Bronzes. As far as good, again, I almost just want to rely consistent format. It's a little bit easier to follow maybe if you knew nothing about RLCS. You know exactly how it works every week. But other than that, I'm not sure there's much else to say in terms of good or bad. No break, Vitality Teams of Bronzes, that's going to happen a ton. The next set is exactly the same. They're just given the dates for all of them, and then the World Championship goes from points cumulative from the majors and the regionals, or they don't call them regionals anymore. They call them qualifiers. To me, it seems like it makes a lot more sense to call this first weekend a qualifier and this weekend something different, because I feel like people are going to be calling the pros of RLCS, the pros who make top 16 and make it to that next weekend. So it should almost be just called the regional again. I don't know why they decided to keep it qualifier 4. And then now like the biggest tournaments are qualifiers. My guess is that if you're a Fortnite esports fan, that there's a lot of similarities, because that's what I've noticed. A lot of people seem to be pointing out that there's a ton of similarities between Fortnite's and now how Rocket League is doing it. Jumping in here to remind myself of one more thing that's not going to be great, which is the off-season. The off-season is going to be back. We talked about how the off-season has not been great for Rocket League. Well, it's going to end in September, and it's going to be going all the way, presumably, till the next year again. And what a lot of people are talking about is, let's say you're not a top 5 team, or a top 4 team, I should say, from North America or EU, then you might be done as early as May, and you may not be playing again until January. So it's a huge off season. It's like RLCS is going to be running way less than it used to. Even back in the day when RLCS was not doing the huge events, it was doing like two a season or 2 a year, 2 seasons a year, which kind of kept it going. Now it's like 1 season a year, and for most of it, there's going to be nothing to really do. Hopefully a ton of off-season stuff can take over control, but we just tried out the off-season stuff, and I tell you what, it was not the same. It wasn't as good. But if you're wondering how the pro response has been in the first hour and 30 minutes or so that it has been out, it's not been great. Here's a tweet from Rise, who basically is quote tweeting a retirement, saying he's done. There's Joyo, who's saying Epic Games full box start esport and 200 pumped it, which of course he's saying because that's a Fortnite term in order to have people understand. And then Jack, of course, has been pretty vocal. He's actually had quite a few tweets, so I just pulled up his whole Twitter feed here. This is him talking about when it is going to happen. He's saying he's so annoyed, a complete step down in 90% of things. SSA major spot is great. Mina 2 spots, everything else is kind of what we have here. Everything else is just kind of worse. Chronic's reaction to the new announcement. And with Rlcs 24, top 64 teams in SAM get money. This was the first qualifier from last season. Oh, there wasn't even 64 teams. There wasn't even 64 teams in the qualifier. So you literally could just sign up and make money at some level. I don't know how much money they're going to be giving, but obviously that's not great. And then he's wondering what the group chat is looking like right now. So listen, we knew it was going to be something worse. We knew it was going to be something worse. It's a lot less Rocket League, a lot less money, and people are just not very excited in general about the new RLCS. It did include some of the things that people talked about, which was removing NA and EU spots. And people did theorize about that. Obviously, no one's going to be excited, but they thought it might be worth giving those spots to SSA and Mina. But like I said, that's us searching for, the good things. Otherwise, across the board, it's maybe a little bit more consistent to watch. I do like that there's single elimination to finish on every weekend. As a casual viewer, it might be really easy to know Saturday, Sunday, that weekend you'll have those playing. Another thing that I was wondering that I didn't mention earlier is Mina was shifted because the weekend is a different time for Mina, and Saturday is that end of the weekend. Sunday is the beginning of the workday or beginning of the work week. It looks like, according to these dates, that they're going back to stomping on the work week, which is what they did the original RLCS season. In the second season, they moved it, and now this is, I say seasons as in the big seasons that have happened so far. So in this third big season, it looks like they're maybe going back to just stopping on the work week over there in Mina. I don't know. Maybe we'll hear more about it. Maybe they'll adjust it. Maybe when they get told, hey, remember the work week? Oh, yeah, we'll shift it back. I don't know who's working on it behind the scenes, but this is what we know now. And I'm assuming that we'll learn a little bit more as time goes on. But, it's not great. It is still RLCS. It's something rather than nothing, which the offseason has been rough. So let me know what you guys think. I know there's going to be tons of different opinions going on about RLCS. I'm hopeful that, even though we knew there was going to be a big cut, we can grow from here and maybe things can be not so bad, but maybe things are the worst. Maybe everything's all over. Maybe the sky is falling. I don't know. I guess it's up to you guys and everybody else to decide.